this whole book is to address, or this letter to the Hebrews is to address a heart that was being panicked, the heart that was faint, because basically I believe this book was written right around the time, or if not during, the siege of Jerusalem that was going to lead to the destruction of the temple. So this being written right around the time when the Hebrews would have known they were about to lose everything. I don't know that many of us have done that. I think that there's been a lot of kind of just casually considering. And I don't mean that in a mocking way or an insulting way. When you came out of the mainstream church, and some of you may still be in there, and that's okay, but when you're dealing with the way mainstream Christianity teaches you about Messiah, it's on a very much more surface level. They want you to know that he was born, that he died, and that he was resurrected, and he's sitting at the right hand, but they don't really want you to understand exactly what that was all about in terms of what he did, how he lived, that he was the walking, talking, living Torah, that he was completely Torah observant. They're not having you closely consider Messiah Yeshua. If you are dealing with a leader and you're concerned about leadership structure and all the abuses and everything else, well, simply identify whether or not your leader is functioning in the role of servant. Are they looking for you to serve them, or are they looking to serve you? Because they don't work for you. The leaders work for the boss. The boss is the creator who put them in anointing. Whoever appointed them is the boss. So they work for the boss, who's the father. However, their role is to serve you. See, this is the thing that trips up a lot of people. We don't like the if part, but if is used a lot in Scripture. If you obey my commands, if you hear my voice and guard my commands, if. He says, we are his body, his house, if we hold fast with boldness, or the boldness and the boasting of the expectation, firm to the end. Now, I know there's verses that say things like rebellion is like unto witchcraft. And I know none of us really probably has much experience with that. Some maybe, but not most, to understand what witchcraft is all about. So let me give you a better picture. Rebellion is like unto the ground opening up and swallowing you. Because we have that example with Korach and others, right? So let me give you a clear picture that all of us can understand. Rebellion is like unto you're getting the information. Guess what? You're done. Ground's opening up and swallowing you up. It's over. So when you're in rebellion, your heart is wrong. And by the way, that could be exemplified by children rebelling against parents, adults rebelling against leadership in ministry, or their bosses at work. We have these attitudes in our hearts, not respecting leadership, which, by the way, he being the creator, always takes as a reflection on how you would treat him. But this is about a heart and about leadership, because he's talking about rebellion. Rebellion is a word that is only used when it comes to people and leadership. Okay, there's no other use for the word rebellion. And so we have a hardened heart problem and rebellion in the day of trial, in the wilderness. So guess what? You're in the wilderness yourself. He says, verse 10, therefore I was grieved with that generation. When you rebel, he grieves. He says, you know what? I opened your eyes. I opened your ears. I showed you the truth. And you still won't let go. You still won't trust me. So what does it mean to have your heart go astray? Well, if your heart is supposed to be 100% with all your heart about him, so going astray means that now your heart is about something other than just him. It's gone off the tracks. And so now it's about you or something else. He says you're to love him with all your heart. By the way, that falling away can be like a feather dropping. It doesn't have to be like a rock. It just could be that sort of gentle floating away, or like a leaf coming off of a tree. And we just sort of drift and float away because of a wicked heart. We need to be encouragers. We need to be there admonishing and encouraging each other. By the way, not sitting around correcting everybody. I know that admonishment is kind of a strange word for people, but it's an encouragement. Not going over and saying, oh, what are you doing that? That's wrong. Don't you not know? Saying, hey, I'm here for you. I want to encourage you. We can do this, both of us, together, right. You can be accountable to me. I can be accountable to you. You can choose people to do that with. Encourage each other. We are deceived often into sinning because we go through this rational lying to ourselves. We convince ourselves that we're not sinning when we're sinning. that it's okay to do something that it's not okay to do. That's the deceivableness of sin. I mean, have you ever thought about that phrase? What does he mean by deceivableness of sin? It's obedience from trust. He talks about that here. He says, if we hold firm that trust, that beginning of trust that we had, trusting what? That in obedience brings blessing. Obedience brings transformation into what he is. Obedience brings safety. That everything that we desire, if we were willing to trust, will come out of obedience. Obedience to the calling, obedience to the Torah, that submission to his authority. Without rebellion and without the hard heart. Are we being trustworthy to the one who called us and appointed us to be a part as a light to the nations? Your role as an Israelite. You have an appointed role. Now, you may not be appointed to be in front of a microphone, but you have an appointed role to live a life that shines his truth in the world. Are you wanting to play that role? To live that role? To be that role? Or are you playing with that role? You have a leadership, starting with Yeshua, that was trustworthy and is trustworthy. And Moses that was trustworthy. Keep going forward. Look for trustworthy leadership now. And also, are you being trustworthy? Or are you struggling with hard hearts, rebellion, and unbelief?